He was the demo cock in a cock worship ritual.
So when I hear that the average is 13, I'm like, ooh, I'm a massive slut. But I mean, I'm doubting my decision to put a woolen shirt on, but...
Do you want to change?
No, I'll be all right.
I mean, this is the time to change if you want to change.
Do it. Go on.
All right.
I can already feel the heat like emanating off you.
A few moments later.
Are you guys
like a diamond?
Are you all good? Is the shirt now approved for the show?
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm good. I'm judged.
You're judged.
All right. So I'm going to get straight started, even though Miss Roddick and I just had a great chat. Welcome back to another episode of Project S.L.U.T, Untamed Tarts, the show that educates and entertains all things sex in an inclusive and positive way. And today, this is like, obviously, is not my studio that you guys have been used to. This is my house. I just have this very random poster sponsored by Shein because we love a Shein sleigh. And I have really amazing guests who, you know what, they could be anywhere in the world right now. Just, I don't know, we could guess. We could say they're from... I'm going to make them fancy. I reckon these people look like they're from Amsterdam. Yeah, we'll go with Amsterdam.
Yeah, a little bit European chic.
You can say, like, who are you and where are you actually from right now?
Well, I'll let the Queen go first.
We're in Sunshine Coast in Queensland. Yeah. Surprise! We look.
Yay.
I mean, I look like I'm in Queensland. I think it looks very Berghain.
You do give me the kind of like Melbourne hipstery vibe, Luke. Just a little bit.
Oh, yeah, the earrings and the bleached hair, and yeah, fair enough. I can see that.
I'm just like, where is your like acai bowl and coffee right now in this like chat?
Well, I've got my coffee.
Well, not the cup of shame. Not the cup of shame.
What do you mean? What's a cup of shame?
I've been
in a keep cup.
I've been trying to only get a coffee if I remember to take my keep cup with me. And if I don't have my keep cup, I'm not getting a coffee because I don't want to ruin the planet with disposable cups.
Yeah, we love that.
Yeah, I did the walk of shame this morning because I just really wanted a fucking coffee.
I mean, it's so funny because, like, you know, we're all in the sex field and you're talking about your walk of shame being you hurting the environment. It's the biggest shame of all.
Totally.
It is.
Yeah, we laugh all the time about the normal conversations for us. If people were recording or watching or listening into our normal conversations in the field that we work in,
It's so good.
it would probably be the most popular like Netflix special you would ever hear. But, you know, my shame point this morning is like, you know, this compared to what I got up to this week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm keen to hear all about it. So before we get into like, you know, deeper questions, like I straight off asked you before when we first joined this call, could you maybe like each of you just tell me what you do, like what your job is and like what you guys are doing over East? Because you guys came to Sexpo and you talked so much about your careers and I was like super inspired. So I just wanted to share that with everyone today and be like, hey, these jobs actually exist. These people are making moves in this scene.
I'm Mistress Eros. I work in the BDSM field. I work as a pro dom. I run events like conscious events, temple events, sacred sexuality, kind of. The merging that I'm really excited about is tantra and kink and kind of blending eroticism and sensuality in with my passion for nature and connection. So that's kind of all been flowing through me, hence my business name, which is Lotus Erotica, which combines my love of nature, the lotus, beautiful symbolism with eroticism. So that's kind of the core essence of what I get up to. So yeah, working as a pro dom is my day job, and then running events is my my kind of passion project.
So I've
speaking
seen you
on
do
stage as well.
On stage, yeah.
I mean, your events, I mean, that's something that I know that a lot of our, like the listeners that we have here probably aren't used to because we don't actually get quite a lot of the sort of events that you run. So could you kind of explain what events you're kind of talking about and what goes on in those events?
Absolutely. So I run two different events. One is like the bridging event. So this is the one that people come to when they're brand new into either sensuality and embodiment or even just like workshops in general. So it's like you can get anyone off the street to come to one of these events. There's alcohol, but we blend like performances, cacao ceremony, sound healing with tantra and embodiment and some like touch practices just to get people into their bodies and really connecting with themselves and with each other. So it's like a beautiful intro. Then people come to that and they go, oh, I love this this spiciness and this yumminess here. I can feel something and this is exciting. And then we talk about temple. And temple is based on, it's kind of like a blanket word that a lot of people use within the sacred sexuality industry. And it's based on the ancient tantric temples. And it's basically where people come together to celebrate pleasure and connection and eros, which is our life force. So it's kind of a blend of open play with workshop and consent and boundaries. So both my business partner and I, Nick, are Betty Martin, the Wheel of Consent trained. So we now run our own 2-hour consent workshop, which then flows into kind of embodiment, connection practices, all stuff that kind of gets people connecting and juiced up. And then we kind of set them free into the open play, which is where we have like kink, the BDSM, we have massage, wax, shibari. I always miss stuff. There's so many different stations. We have like a worshipping throne. So if people want to be like anointed with oils and fed grapes and have the kind of experience of being, devoted to, it's so beautiful. So yeah, I love it.
And there's a really cool chair that's always very popular at the temple. It's like a chair that you can get strapped into with your wrists and your ankles, and then there's this big 240-volt vibrator that pops up through the middle of the chair.
Oh my God.
Can recommend, have had an orgasm on that chair multiple times. Everyone that comes to temple like wants to go on the chair. It's kind of like the infamous chair that everyone wants to have a go on. It's amazing.
I mean, do you have, because I mean, I know this happens quite often when I talk to people about adult events. Do a lot of people just assume things like it's an orgy, it's a sex party, it's a cult? Like, do you get those kind of comments about these things?
Totally. Yeah. And I actually did a podcast episode when I very, very first in this industry. I got interviewed and the title of the podcast was It's Not an Orgy. Because so many people think that that's what it is. And look, some temples have penetration, so they do have P&V. So ours doesn't, because we really want to take the focus away from goal-centered pleasure, so that and friction-based pleasure. So really getting people to think of, you know, what does intimacy and pleasure mean outside of getting penetrated? And that's why we have all the different spaces for people to go, oh, I really want to feel some rope or some wax or some massage, and kind of giving them the tools to expand beyond penetration. But yeah, some temples are kind of an orgy, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I would actually love to run some full penetration spaces, which we will talk about.
Yeah, we've got an exciting news to announce if you're open to hearing it later on.
Some pretty huge news.
Yes, 100%. We'll say that for the end. Make sure that people stay listening to the whole episode.
Yeah, stay tuned. Pretty big.
Before we get on to what Luke does, I just have this question like burning in my mind. Mm-hmm. I did not know that this kind of stuff happened in Queensland, of all places, in Australia. Do you think this is something that's always been there? Have you seen over the years that like these temples and this like these tantric sessions that you're running are growing, expanding? Like, where does the community lie over East with this?
I mean, this has been going on for a long time. Like, people have been engaging in temples and these kinds of spaces where people have been drawing on the kind of ancient traditions, right, of the priestesses and the goddesses, and they've been creating these spaces. I do think that it's growing and more people are stripping back the taboos and the stereotypes and are like, it's not an orgy, or they're starting to realize, oh, there's all this like juiciness that is available to me. And I think that slowly the layers of shame are starting to very slowly get stripped back. And this is why I love creating the bridging event, right? Because then you can kind of bring in people that don't even know that that's what they want. And then they're like, oh, I fucking love this.
Yeah. And there's temples being run all up the East Coast, as far as I know, like Brisbane,
all over the world.
all over the world.
Yeah.
Brisbane, Sydney. The girls are doing one down in Melbourne very soon as
Yep.
well. And I think that that's increasing in popularity because the taboo of having a desire or a fantasy to be in sexuality and in sexual play in a group setting is something that's been a desire and a fantasy for people since, you know, the beginning of time, since, you know, we were running around in tribes. And, you know, people, it's always been something that's been a desire for humans, but it's probably been more underground in the past history, where it's becoming more of an offering. It's not like a dirty secret. It's something that people are becoming more confident to put their hand up and say, yeah, I'm actually really keen to, you know, be witnessed in front of a group of people and, you know, play with a bunch of different people. And because with these temples, there's always such a big focus on consent and boundaries and education as well, that people know that they're going to come along and they're going to, you know, expand their capacity to be able to ask for what they want and receive what they want, give what they want. So, like, yeah, I think that the reason for the popularity increase is because of what's offered at these events.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that you mentioned consent, because I've had so many people that I've talked to over the last year who attend sex parties in Perth say that they feel more safe at these events because consent is the number one priority compared to just going out on the town and, you know, the nightclub areas. And, you know, women feel more, and that's true. Like I feel way more safe, you know, when my partner like leaves me by my side at one of those parties than I would if we were just at a regular nightclub, because consent is so practiced in this community. It's like the foundation of us being able to explore different, you know, aspects.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now that we're on to this, can I get a little bit about you, Luke, and what you do, and specifically like how you get into how your talks really centered around anal? Because I was so like, is this guy just an expert on the ass? Like, what a title for himself.
Yeah, Anal Awakening is one of the talks that I love to do at Sexpo, and it's always really, really popular. So yeah, I'm Luke Skewes. I'm a sex and intimacy coach, a sex educator, and I speak on stages all over the country. I run the Sex Ed and Kink Corner for Sexpo for the last 2 years. And yeah, I just love helping couples and individuals expand their experience of what pleasure could be in their relationships, what pleasure could be for themselves, and giving them information, education, and permission to be able to enjoy the intimacy that they actually fucking want, rather than, you know, the intimacy that's been spoon-fed to them from media, movies, you know, their past relationships. I just think that for myself, sex education for my generation absolutely fucking failed all of us. If you were lucky enough to get sex education at school, and we got taught, you know, how to put a condom on a banana, you know, don't catch an STI because that'll be the end of your life. You know, don't have unplanned pregnancies, a little bit about sexual abuse, but there was nothing in there about consent, boundaries, conflict resolution, communication, connection tools, pleasure practices, you know, pleasure anatomy in your body. Like, you know, we got told about anatomy, but we didn't get told anything about what could feel good for that anatomy. And yeah, so I've been doing that for the last 7 years now, and I fucking love it. I get to talk about sex all day long.
What made you go into this field? Like, how did you, you know, you've been doing this for a while now. What was that step? Like, what were you doing before that? And then you were like, nah, I'm going to do this.
Well, originally I was an electrical engineer.
Stop. Were you actually?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's so smart. What a smart guest I have right now.
And I still do that as my muggle job, you know, during the day.
You got a muggle job?
Yeah, to pay the bills.
Oh, I call someone said to me recently, call them their beige job. So I used to say,
Yeah.
I've been saying beige job, so now I'm taking it. I'm calling it my muggle job.
Yeah, absolutely. Take it. It's yours.
yeah.
Gift to you. But then I started working in the space of, I retrained in my like mid-20s into mental health and addiction support. And I was working at a rehab facility, and I was working there for a few years, and that realm is like really a revolving door realm. Like people will come in and do a little bit of work on themselves, get some tools, get, some feeling of healing, and then they would go back out into the real world, and a few months later they would relapse and they would be back. And I just saw this parallel of so many people, their reason for their relapse into mental health or addiction was something to do with sex, love, or relationships. Like almost every single time you would, say, well, what happened, mate? How did you get back here? And it always had something to do with the relationship with their partner, their brother, their lover, their father, their sister, a sexual event or a breakup or something to do with relationships. And that was never really the case. It always was the case that it had to do with the relationship that they had with themselves, their capacity to cope with triggers and challenges. But their reason, their projection was always love, sex, and relationships. So I decided to retrain again and go to the problem and help them work their way back to the relationship that they had with themselves.
That sounds like a very rewarding experience. Just even listening to you, I can hear the passion you have in in your voice. And I think having a genuine concern as any sort of coach or therapist or counselor is necessary. You're not just doing this for a job, you're doing it because you actually care.
Yeah, well, that's how it felt when I was working in mental health and addiction support, that it felt like I was just putting Band-Aids on. And I wanted to help people make permanent change in their lived experience. So yeah, it was really passionate for me at that time to move into the field of sex and relationships. And people do come to me all the time with, what they want is to work on something that's like really juicy and, really sexy. I want to open up my relationship, or I want to experience like an ejaculatory orgasm or whatever it might be. But a lot of the time we're working on the relationship that they have with themselves, like their capacity to speak into their desires and fantasies and kinks, their communication skills, their boundaries, their consent. So it's got a sexy title of being, a sex and relationship coach, but a lot of it's like psychology.
You guys are both individually so well versed in your like respective fields. How did you guys kind of come together? Like, it just seems like a very match made in heaven. And I will be honest, when I was at Sexpo, and I think Belinda mentioned you were a couple, I just look, I don't mean to sound rash, but I just thought of your sex life straight away. And I'm like, I could imagine going to their house for dinner and there'd be like dildos on the walls, like straps everywhere. Like, I just imagined the most like dungeon looking household that you guys had. And that was the first thing I had. I didn't even say hi to either of you, but that's just the first thing I had. And so then like I went to meet Luke just before I saw talk, and I'm just still thinking in the back of my mind, I wonder what this guy's sex life is like if this is his partner.
I love that.
Well, we do get that a lot.
We do get that a lot.
Yeah. People are like, you guys are doing the most fucked up shit.
I mean, fantasize away. We got to find a way to like capitalize on this.
Yeah.
We should make content. Like,
as if you guys haven't. I feel like even if it's like education purposes, people would be there watching,
Yeah, we've talked about it. It's something that we definitely want to do, is to make some like kink, BDSM, Tantra content to help educate, but also turn people on as well.
Absolutely. You got to turn them on just a little bit.
I mean, we've got our little home videos, but nobody wants to see those.
Well, home videos.
Yeah.
So how do you guys like work as a couple? Like, how have your fields kind of like meshed well together and doing what you do? Because did you guys meet in the field, out of the field?
Yeah, we met at a training that a really good friend of ours, EJ Love, runs, called the Conscious Sexuality Experience, which is a training to try and work mostly with sex workers to teach them more conscious sexuality techniques, tools, information, practices. And was one of the attendees there. And I was the demo body for the prostate and penis massage section of the training.
Yep.
So I saw her walk down the stairs and was just like,
Mistress Eros
walked down the stairs.
Happens. It
I saw
happens.
I saw Mistress Eros walk down the stairs and was just like, ooh, like totally shook. And next minute, she was watching me getting my bum fingered and jerked off by one of my best friends in a room full of 17 other strange women. And
Oh my God.
yeah, we sort of stayed connected throughout the year. And then we went to another Tantra festival called Taste of Love, and we hooked up there. And then we just started developing this beautiful relationship. And it's incredible. It's been 6 months now.
It's amazing. I love that your first meet, your meet cute, as we say in the film industry, was technically almost like an anal awakening, It's just very on brand for you guys,
It's hilarious. I know. And I've I told my mum, she's like, how did we meet him? I was like, well, he was the demo cock in a cock worship ritual.
I love that you're so open with your mum. It's actually something I usually do ask my guests. How do you handle this career? Do your families know? I mean, you mentioned kids and stuff. Like, how do you kind of work around the Muggle world and what you do?
Honestly, just pretend like it doesn't exist. Just this is who I am, and take it or leave it. And I've been met with nothing but love. Like, my family are so supportive. My friends have been so supportive. And I'm sure that people say shit behind my back. It's pretty controversial, the stuff that I'm saying and doing and posting about. Like, for sure, it's going to trigger the fuck out of people. I know it triggered my mum in the beginning. And it took her a bit of education and a bit of sitting her down and being like, look, this is why I'm doing it. I'm really passionate about bringing people into their pleasure and into their sensuality, to help them drop back into that beautiful energetic current of surrender, to help them connect back to the earth and back to themselves and to each other. And when I kind of described these concepts to her, she really softened. And I believe that the more we continue to talk about these things, then the rest of society will start to kind of follow suit. But yeah, I mean, I've been really lucky that I've been met with a lot of love in kind of coming out with everything.
Yeah, similar story for me. It really challenged my mum at the start because, going from a very muggle-based job as an electrical engineer, that's something that mum can be really proud of. And and then, it's like, guess what, mum? I'm changing my career again, and I'm going to be educating people on this and this, and then next thing you know, I'm on radio, I'm in magazines, I've got my own podcast, and weekly, mum would ring up after I released. I remember she rang up after I released a podcast on it was called Butt Stuff, and she was like, "Oh, darling, I just listened to your podcast. Well, can you take it down, please?" And I was like, "No, mum, absolutely not." And I was like, Mum, this is important. Like, nobody else is talking about it. There's no tradies out there that are talking about, intimacy and communication and sex and anal. And she's like, I know it's important, darling, but why does it have to be you? Yeah. So now she's like really supportive of it. It just took her some time. And, she started listening to people like Esther Perel and some people that were more in her generation talking about similar things to what I was talking about. And that's what helped her come around to it a little bit more. And then as I started to share stories with her about how much I was helping people and being of service and telling her some of the stories of my clients and some of the talks that I've been doing, and she saw photos of me on stage at Sexpo in front of, hundreds of people, and she started to get to the point where she's like, I'm really proud of you. You're doing good work.
I love that. I think...
But yeah, a lot of it, don't ask, don't tell with mum. She's like, I'm like, I'm running an event this weekend, and she's like, should I ask what it is, darling? And I was like, probably not, no. And then she gets really curious, like, oh, but now I really want to know what it is.
I mean, do you ever hope that she'd get to the point where she's like, you know what, I want to come along to one of these events?
Yeah, I think that there's a day where that happens. I mean, that Ree's mum does. Ree's mum comes to most of her events and is
Not
like
Temple.
Really?
Not Temple,
Not
but
Temple. I've convinced her she's going to come to the Melbourne Consent and Boundaries workshop.
Win.
It's going to be great.
Amazing.
Go, mum.
yeah, but her mum's the door bitch at Sense, so she actually like
And Temple. She's
runs-
the door bitch.
She's the door bitch at Mistress Eros event.
She's great.
I think that's so amazing to hear, because I'm obviously in the same sort of position where you would have been at the start, where my parents have no idea kind of what I do. I think I kind of mask it as like feminism. So my dad just doesn't really have an interest in listening to the content, so it's fine. And then even just like the same, like I was really like excited to be talking at Sexpo, and I couldn't tell them really. I just said, I was like, oh, it's a convention, and then I just sent them like the very tiniest snippet. And I remember my mom saying, your shorts are really short. And I'm like, honey, if you saw the people here, you would not think my shorts were short.
Yeah.
There's like, I think so much that this community still needs to get accepted. But then I always see people like you, and then you tell me about the things that happen in your states, and I'm like, oh my God, like I cannot believe this stuff is still kind of like not as talked about as much. Like it's getting out there, but just hearing that this has been going on for years, I'm thinking like, why the hell am I not in like Queensland already?
Yeah, we'll have you. We'll allow you in.
You'll allow me in. I'm very scared of like butt stuff. That's like probably something that I would be like so like shocked to come to one of your talks. And because like it's one of those things, it's one of those stigmas that you always hear, especially about anal, that it's just going to really hurt. So I've just not even considered it a thought. I was like, it's okay, I'll get to that hole eventually. Do you find like a lot of people ask you about things like that, just like randomly, like, oh, they're like, oh, how do I do this, or like what do I do with like this person?
Yes.
Yeah, all the time.
All the time.
You get the Instagram DMs, you get, somehow somebody's gotten your phone number on WhatsApp, and next thing they're telling you their 6-minute, life story, and all the time.
Do you like people approaching you like that, or?
Do I? Yeah, all the time. So many people, like, some of the things that people like write to me is like next level.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, oh my God. But like, I also love it. Like, it makes me so happy. And like, I'll just say, great, thank you so much for sharing this with me. Here, let's jump on a discovery call and we can unpack this more.
So you might have seen that news article recently about that study that was done about the average number of people sleep with, and Australia ranked, was it like second or third or something like that? And our national average was like 13 people. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm like above average in something, at least for something to change in my life. Were you shocked to hear that Australia was like so high ranking in like sex, or just in general? Because I used to think that we were very like prudish.
I am shocked that the number's so low, to be honest, because there's been a big conversation in media lately around like, can we just stop talking about people's body counts and judging them and shaming them on, the body count of somebody? And I've had this with clients recently where it's actually been a really big deal in the relationship when they've disclosed what their body count is. And so when I hear that the average is 13, I'm like, ooh, I'm a massive slut. But yeah, no, it doesn't really shock me. I think Australians are pretty horny motherfuckers.
But I feel like the reason that it's low, like I feel like 13 is pretty low, is because you do get people, like there's still, I feel like, a big portion of society that only sleep with a couple of people, like 5, or like they have their partner, maybe they fuck around a little bit in high school with a few people, but then they meet someone and they're pretty much with them for the rest of the time. Like, I don't know, I think of like the most normal people that you meet are kind of in that situation. So that's probably, I feel like, why it would be.
Yeah.
Because then you get people outside of that,
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Like sleeping with lots of people, like hundreds.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
Do you guys, like before we just like kind of wrap up this, because I could literally just sit here and talk to you guys all day. Like I kind of almost forgot we were recording till the postman came. And I was like, oh shit, I shouldn't really like do this. But where do you guys want to see this field kind of take off in your careers, and what are you guys kind of hoping you see develop over the next couple of years?
That's such a good question.
That's such a good question.
Oh,
I know what my answer is on this is.
Yummy to just even think about that. In my body is just like, whoa, the possibilities.
I really want to see the field and the work that we do create situations where more conversations can be had like we're having now. Like
Yeah.
for conversations about taboos, sex, intimacy, connection, be something that can be had with your mates in the lunchroom, around the dinner table. I think there needs to be far more conversations about sex and intimacy outside of the bedroom than what we have inside of the bedroom. And that is going to solve so many problems in the world when we can be more intimate and more empowered all the time.
Yeah, I concur.
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, like, I know you guys said you guys travel everywhere and do these events and stuff. Is Perth ever somewhere that you guys are going to consider?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love Perth.
Yeah, we want to
Thank
take
you.
we want to take these temples on tour, like worldwide.
Well,
Oh,
that
love that.
probably is a good segue into announcing. This is the first time we've announced this on anything. Haven't even launched the event yet, but it's going to be happening literally
weekend.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all kind of dropped in. We've booked a venue and we're going to be launching a multi-day retreat that's kind of like a luxury play party that kind of
Wow.
weaves together sacred sexuality with deep nature connection and ritual and magic, and it's just going to be so fucking delicious. This will be a full penetration event for your more experienced, like, people that have been kind of in the scene, have done a bit of consent and boundaries, because it is going to be some very very risque activities, but
Yeah.
it's going to be
Yeah, so it's the first event under the banner of Lotus Erotica, and yeah, the idea is to have a super luxury, high-end retreat, resort style, multi-day play party that's fully facilitated by, seasoned facilitators, and there's going to be beautiful food, there's going to be beautiful practices, and we just can't wait. We're so excited about this thing.
We've got a sauna, ice bath, spa, pool table, pool,
Yogashala.
multiple levels. Like, there's like 27 bedrooms in this place. It's going to be like,
Where is
it's
it?
totally
Where is it gonna
private,
be?
encapsulated, like, nature. It's in Montville, which is like 45 minutes inland of Maroochydore, which is like the capital city of Sunshine Coast.
I was still going to say, I didn't know actually still which state we're talking about till you spent on the Sunshine Coast.
Queensland,
Yeah.
Australia.
Yeah.
Like, that suburb has no meaning to me whatsoever.
So when are the tickets? I mean, if people from WA, I mean, because I do have some listeners overseas as well, if people want to travel and they want to go to this retreat, how do they get on board with this?
The best way is to follow us on social media, so at Luke Skewes and at Lotus_Erotica, and there'll be the link in the bio there.
Go onto my website.
Yeah, people will have to fill out an application form so that we can vet them and make sure that they've got the experience to be able to attend and it be enjoyable for them. And yeah, it'll be by invite only for the people that apply, and then we'll send them a ticket link if they pass the vetting process, and then they can come.
Wow, this is
So what is the date?
amazing.
June 22nd, which is the winter solstice.
Did you plan that, or does it just happen to be a coincidence?
It just happened last night. We
The
figured
universe just like
The
provided,
universe.
like, this
Yeah.
venue is booked out for the rest of the year, and they had a cancellation, and they called us and were like, "You've got the dates if you want them." We were like, "It's happening. Let's do it."
Yeah.
Amazing.
So the big vision is for us to take this on tour, into overseas, thinking Thailand, Vietnam, Bali. We want to do it in different cities across Australia, and start to bring conscious sexuality events to the world.
That's amazing. Like, I definitely, like, I'm a big believer in the universe and timings, and things happen for a reason. So the fact that you guys got that date is amazing. And I don't see, like, I actually see this going around. Like, I see, like, you guys expanding this and going everywhere. Like, it's an amazing initiative that you guys are taking in our field. And I can't wait to see it expand in this city, especially.
Come into Perth.
I want to Perth.
Before we wrap up, I usually ask my guests to give me a bit of a horror story.
We have a good one together.
Yeah, I could see, like, as you asked us, like, our eyes were flickering, like, rolodexing through all of our
You were
horror
thinking,
stories.
like, which one? How
is
much
this
time
one?
do we have?
Oh,
I mean, we've
both
got
of
so
us.
many. Yeah, we've got one with both of us.
Yeah, tell the both of us one.
The one at Erotica?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Is that the one?
Yeah, that's a good one. Oh my God, I got so many. We could do it like, oh, yeah.
This one's a good one. So before we got together, we were co-facilitating an event. So I was running the sensual domination and Luke was running another sensuality workshopy thing. And then I've kind of had a bit of a thing where I wanted to rip him into this room. It was a bit of a fantasy to like have him have multiple hands on him. So we ended up bringing him into the domination space and we kind of got like a bunch of like minions to just basically rain down pleasure on Luke. He had people at his feet, like he's fully naked, and this is like, yeah, before we'd slept together.
Oh,
Maybe we'd slept together once.
We'd slept together.
Yeah.
We'd fooled around, so.
We'd fooled around a little bit, but yeah, it was like I felt like it was the juice that really like cemented us connecting.
Yeah.
Like that.
It was so funny to see, like, when you're talking now, she's so, like, colourful, and when I got to see, like, step into her dom mode and just walk around and be like, you.
Oh yeah,
you,
so different.
You.
So I was just commanding the space, like just making this scene happen.
Yeah, come and get on my man over here and pleasure him. So that was pretty hard.
I mean, not to sound like too invasive, but I'm assuming your sex life is just completely on another level.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty spicy.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I think I did say this to Luke in Perth. I did say, like, could you imagine if it was on the opposite spectrum where you guys are so spicy so much of the time that when you guys come to bed, you're just like, nah, that's it, lights off, under the sheets, missionary.
Yeah, it is funny. And I think I was saying to you at Sexpo, I was like, look, yeah, we do get up to some fun stuff because we're always thinking of like new ways to, have different sorts of intimate connection. But then there's also times when, you just want to have a snuggle fuck and it's like, pretty vanilla.
You did say that, I remember.
Okay, so my horse story is about the first time that me and Mistress Eros hooked up at Taste of Love. Like, we'd been, like, vibing for, like, months, for, like, 8 months or so, and neither of us really knew that each other, like, liked each other. And I woke up in the morning, got out of my swag, here's Mistress Eros brushing her teeth with her top off, just in the campground, and like, hey, how was your night? Oh, that's good. Would have liked somebody to cuddle though. And she's like, oh my God, me too. And I was like, oh, you want to cuddle now? So we crawled into the tent and started to have our little cuddle, which then very quickly turned into us tearing each other's clothes off. And Mistress Eros, tent mate, came back from having a shower to realize Mistress Eros' head like hanging out of the tent, like with me going down on her and giving her a massive orgasm. And I remember hearing her friend outside the tent saying something like, oh my God, I'm gone for 15 minutes and she's got a fucking guy in there.
I love that. And the rest is history.
Yeah, here we are.
Love that.
Rest is history.
Genuinely could talk to you guys all day because there are still so many questions that I could ask you both. But I'm manifesting that we will get to record again in Sydney for Sexpo. We're gonna meet. We're gonna talk about anal. And then after I talk about anal with you, I'm not gonna be scared of it anymore. That's
exactly.
We can change that.
So many things that we could talk about. But thank you guys for coming on today. I've really just gotten so much out of talking to you and learning about your careers that I just can't wait to expand this more and get to talk to you guys and get to see how this tantric temples and tours expand over the next few years.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us on. And yeah, we'd love to be regulars on the show. If you think of something that you need answered, then call us up, book us in, and we can nut it out together.
100%. So thank you guys. And as always, stay safe and stay whorish.